Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to Well with Mika, where we talk real wellness for your real life. I'm Mika, your cultural wellness ally, and today we are going to start a three-part series on something that's been sitting kind of heavy on my heart. I think because I keep seeing it popping up, and I know it's something that I've struggled with myself. So now there's a whole name and what some people are calling a trend, which is the growing trend of adult children going no contact with their parents. So I'm seeing this all over social media right now. And before anyone gets all heated and everything, just hear me out for a second. I'm not really here to necessarily pick sides because I'm all about building the bridges. I ain't about burning them unless it's absolutely necessary for your safety and for your well being. So, this series right here is going to fall into the social fitness and psychological fitness because we already know, that I know, and I feel very strongly about healthy relationships and mental well being going hand in hand. Okay, so let's get into it. So recently, as I said, I've been seeing clips all over social media where people are just cutting off their parents. And honestly, I had some feelings about it. Kind of strong feelings at that. Because I'm seeing these posts, oh, go no contact, cut your parents off, cut off your family members if you need to. And I'm really sitting down thinking, what about that mommy who was working hard, them two jobs, to keep you fed? What about the dad who, didn't really know how to communicate and talk about his feelings because nobody taught him? What about your grandparents who raised their kids the only way that they knew how, and that's how they were raised? And yes, I also noticed that some of them loud, strong voices are people that ain't got no kids. I'm not saying that's everybody, so don't get me wrong, but I just noticed that a lot of the ones that I saw pop up, they ain't had no kids, and I ain't really trying to throw shade. But parenting is hard. I mean, maybe I was in my feelings as a parent, but parenting is hard, and there's no such thing as the perfect parent. You're going to make mistakes. It is a job, and just like any job, you go and you try. Well, for the ones that actually care, you're going to try to do your best. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to mess up, and then you just keep trying and trying again. You know better, you do better, right? So, it was kind of it hit me in a bad way. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't really receive it well. And yes, many of us we grew up where communication it wasn't the best. I ain't gonna lie. My generation communication wasn't really done in the best way a lot of the times. But we value respect, we value sacrifice, and yes, we value reverence for the elders. So when I see people cutting off family over imperfection, then I wonder, like, are we really throwing away entire relationships too quickly? You throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Are we really doing that? Now, please keep in mind, this is coming from somebody that, I mean, if I'm to be honest, I have done drastic things when I felt like there was toxic culture in the family. So I'm not saying that I don't understand. I'm just saying let's take a step back and really like look at the big picture, look at the whole picture and figure out are there ways to build bridges as opposed to just, cutting them down. So, that perspective, my perspective, all of our perspectives, yes, it's valid. And my perspective, I guess, is more rooted in the culture and community and in the idea that family matters, right? But then I had to ask myself, what am I missing? Because I have to do that. I try my best to not just go down my own, be in my own way. So I did what I do. I dug, I read, I listened, and I really had to get to understand what people meant when they said no contact. So this is what I took from it. First, you can love somebody and they can still hurt you. Now, yes, I knew this, but this had to be like really solidified in my brain as I go through this idea of evaluating the whole no contact quote unquote trend. So, yeah, your mama, she could have done her absolute best with what she had, and you can still carry pain from how she raised you. Both things can be true at the same time. I think that in this ethos that we're in right now, sometimes that whole message gets lost. Two things can be true at the same time. Now, in the book The Body Keeps the Score, they explain that trauma isn't just about what happened, it's about how your body and your mind experienced it. A parent can intend discipline, but then the child, what they experience is overwhelming fear. And a parent can be busy providing, but the child, what they're experiencing is emotional neglect. So, understand that those two things can be happening, can be present, can be true at the same time. Then, second, no contact is usually a last resort. So, for the people that are, really, because there's a right and wrong way, I think, to do things. And when people hear a trend, sometimes some folks, they just hop on it and they don't really fully think it through. But for the people doing it the way that it's intended, they don't really want to cut their parents off. I'm realizing they've gone through the process of trying everything first, right? They tried to talk in, they get shut down. They tried setting boundaries, healthy boundaries, and then they get guilt tripped. They try explaining how they feel, and then they get ignored. They get told, oh, you're too sensitive, or you're living in the past. It's really, what it does is just invalidates how you're feeling, right? So no contact in those instances weren't the first choice. It's what happens when every other door has been slammed in their face. And I completely get that. And then third is often about emotional unavailability, not necessarily abuse. So Dr. Lindsay Gibson, she wrote in the book Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. What she said was, she explains that chronic emotional unavailability, even when a parent loves their child, can really cause deep lasting pain. So, what I came to understand is that both perspectives are real. Parents often are doing their best, and the impact on the child can still be painful. And that's where really this series comes in. Because what I want to offer is truly like a middle path, a way to rebuild your connection without pretending that everything is fine or cutting someone off completely. Now, I'm no therapist and I'm nobody's therapist. This is just me thinking through this whole thing and really trying to come to grips from a wellness perspective on how we can really coexist in a healthy way. So we're going to call it the low contact bridge, right? So it's structured, it's intentional, and it respects both sides, the needs of both sides, right? So over the next two episodes, we're going to really explore some practical strategies, probably about three strategies, right? And we're going to talk about parallel play for grown-ups, where you're going to work side by side instead of really that face to face, to reduce emotional pressure and build collaboration. And then we're going to talk about the reciprocity test, which is, really about taking turns, stepping into each other's worlds, and to really reveal and help to repair and see if it's actually possible. That's what I mean. It's like you really say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try what you like, but you have to be open to trying what I like. It's being collaborative. And then today, I just want to plant the seed, because you don't have to choose between pretending everything is fine and, like I said, cutting someone off entirely. We want to really create that middle space, and we're going to just explore that together. So this isn't just about feelings. I want to, reiterate. This is about health. Social fitness asks the question, how healthy are your relationships? Do you have meaningful, respectful connections? And do you have boundaries that allow you to really thrive and live? And then the psychological fitness aspect, it asks, do you feel safe? Are you grounded? You able to engage without losing yourself? When we look at strained family relationships, they really do affect both. They drain your energy, they trigger your stress response, and then they could keep you stuck in unhealthy patterns. But there's a good side, there's good news. Just like physical fitness, Your relationship fitness, it can be rebuilt. Yes, it's going to be slow. Yes, it has to be intentional, and it has to be with the right tools. So that's what this series is really going to be about. So I just wanted to set the foundation for it. And I also want to be really clear about something. If there was serious abuse, physical, sexual, severe emotional abuse, your safety comes first and foremost. Full stop, period, done. Okay? This is not about forcing you to reconnect with someone who truly, really hurt you and abused you. But if you're dealing with an imperfect parent who hurt you but didn't destroy you, if there's a chance that they also might be willing to try, and if you want a relationship but just can't do it the old way, then this is where this series comes in. So, in our next episode, we're going to really dive into the first strategy, which is the parallel play, where you're going to work side by side and heal what the face to face talking just couldn't do. All right. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me to set the foundation for this. I'm setting the foundation because I really think it's an important topic. And it's really, I could see the hurt on both sides, but I really want us to take a close look at it and decide. I want you to take a look from your personal perspective, really ask the important questions, and don't hop on a trend, and really think about what route you can take. Okay, that's going to be right for you, because that's what we always deal with here is real wellness. Okay, so until next time, as always, please take care of yourself and happy healthing. Peace.